is Eric Wayne. How are you? I just want to share with you the life of a business broker and how we do what we do that works, because we know what buyers are looking at. We know what buyers' agents are looking at. To give you a quick background, and I hope you looked at that video in my signature. I won't bother going over it now with you, but there's a whole bunch of little tutorials about business brokerage. About an hour and 15 minutes long. It's a good investment for a CPA or an accountant that maybe deals with people who want to sell, or the sellers. Actually, the sellers should look at it also. It's not high production value, but it's great content. Me trying to explain to owners throughout the years different things that have come up or they misunderstood. So without any further ado, pulling up your 2022, and I'm seeing sales, expenses. I want to show you the BBF, the Business Brokers of Florida Association. I want us to understand what we're actually selling. Critical that we understand what we're actually selling. And yes, we do have buyers. Yes, I could get this sold. It will be different than what the owner is thinking it's worth. And I'm going to tell you the exact valuation of it as best I can. Once I have your financials, I could be even more exact. But I'll work with what you gave me, and I'm just going to explain to you the process. This number, annualized, is what buyers are interested in. All this other stuff is just a means to get to this number, because this is the job, right? If this was 12 months, it would come out roughly, rough numbers. I figured this is 7.5 months, because 6 months would be the end of June, and then you have July, so that's another month, and the 14th is 2 weeks. So it's 6 plus 1 month plus 2 weeks. I'm going to work with 7.5. So if you took this number and divided it by 7.5, I come up to 51.56 per month. Multiplied by 12, I'm coming up to 61,876 annually. And then if you divide it by 2,500 hours a year, figuring somebody's working 50 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, that's 2,500. It could be less, it could be more. I didn't see it on the intake form. You could use whatever number you want, but I'm gonna figure owners don't get away easy, and owners work really, really hard, and we put a lot of hours in. I know I have 70-hour weeks, 80-hour weeks sometimes. It's like 2 full-time jobs. But if you took 2,500 and divided it from 61,876, you come up to $24.75 per hour. That's what we're selling. We're selling somebody a job for $24.75 per hour. To have that job, they have to buy that job, all the furniture, fixtures, equipment, inventory, leases, the name, the phone number. They have to buy all the things that were necessary for people to pay the top line, to then pay the expenses, to then pay this number, and then we make it annualized. So what we're selling is the furniture, fixtures, and equipment and inventory, the phone number, the website, the goodwill, everything that's included, in order to annually make about $25 an hour. That's what I'm selling. This is a standard business. It's a standard industry. It's healthcare, home healthcare, and there's nothing unique, different, or proprietary about it. I know the owner is emotionally involved, which is cool, and that's great, and I'm glad they're committed to it. However, in the eyes of a buyer and a buyer's agent, I'm going to show you what it is, the columns that they even consider when they place a value on business. And none of them talk about what the buyer can do with it, or the future, or the next couple of years. Whatever the buyer does with it, the buyer will reap the rewards or suffer the consequences of their decisions and abilities and luck. The seller doesn't have the opportunity or right to charge the buyer for the efforts and the risk and the reward or loss that the new owner might have. Does that make it clear? In other words, at the day of closing, what are we selling at the day of closing? What does my Ferrari I'm buying look like the day of closing? I might crash that Ferrari, or I might win a race with that Ferrari, but at that point I either crash it or I win the race. It's my Ferrari after closing. It's not the previous owner's right to claim the benefits or the risk. The current owner is cutting their tie with what they're selling. And what they're selling is this. This is the point that the current owner got it to. You're selling a tree that's this big. You're not selling a tree that could grow taller, or a dog that could be more mature. You're selling a puppy, then you're selling a puppy. You're not selling a a mature race dog or a horse or something that grows into more value. You're selling it at the time for what it is. So if we can agree that this is what we're selling, you can't charge. You can want whatever you want, but the buyers aren't going to put value on what they can do. What they can do is maybe the reason they're buying it. If you take away the benefit of them becoming the owner and growing it or seeking a higher reward, they're not going to buy it. Because then what's the upside? The seller can't take the buyer's upside. I've been a member of the BBF, the Business Brokers of Florida Association, almost since the beginning, which is 21 years. I've been selling businesses since 1989. I've been licensed in Florida since 1989. I win awards for production, for volume of deals. Anything over $1 million a year, I win awards for. So I'm an expert at this, and I speak with authority. I've done a lot of things with the courts. I've testified. I've been involved with different partnership issues and valuation. This is how it's done. So having said that, let me first show you what's in here. There's 2,609 listings. When you list with me, I have fellow agents that all look in this database when they have buyers that I want to work with, and I split my commission 50-50. I co-broke with them. They're going to look in this database. They're not looking on Craigslist. They're not looking in the mailbox. They're not looking, in a magazine. They're coming to this database. This is the MLS for business brokers. Business brokerage is a niche in real estate. With real estate, you have MLSs. There's agents that all pull from maybe the Miami Board of Realtors, for example, which I'm also a member of. This is where businesses are sold, where business brokers sell and list and advertise and all network together. So having said that, let me just show you what's in here. There's 2,520 active listings. If I do all, you're going to see when we have a buyer, you can see the different categories. And then if I wanted more information and to contact the listing agent, I would just simply click on this. But here are the categories I want you to understand. What is the price? What is the down payment? I went back in here to actives. Let me just show you. These are the subcategories. It's alphabetized. See, in every if I said medical, there's going to be subcategories. But these are all the categories of the actives. And also, this is how solds are looked for. So we have every legal business in Florida in this association. So if I went to medical and I looked up medical home care, this would be our competition, because you don't have an MRI center, you don't have a weight loss center. This would be my competition. We know people ask for more than they sell for, and I'm going to show that to you in just a second, because I'm going to do both databases. I'm going to show you with comments. I'm going to show you there's 6 that are currently available in Florida, and I'm going to sort it by earnings. This one made no earnings, a little bit, and then the comments are here. So I wouldn't compare you to this guy or this guy or this guy, because it's too large, right? But you can see what they're asking for it. They're asking for a multiple. This profit is a multiple of the price and the down payment. I know that mostly nobody gets, and I'm going to prove this, nobody gets 100 pennies on a dollar as a down payment. They're over asking. Like here, they want all cash. Generally, that doesn't happen, okay? But they asked for it. This is the asking section. This is the active listing section. But you can see the 221 versus the 850 is a multiple. Call it 4 years for fast math. This is maybe 4 years, but they don't sell for 4 years fast math. Here, this is 3.5 years fast math, right? This is 5 years fast math. No profit, no profit. So what are they selling here? Well, I know that businesses sell for the value, the used current value of the furniture, fixtures, and equipment when there's no earnings. There's no sales. So what are they really selling? They're selling the furniture, the fixtures, and the equipment of the business that used to be a business. They're selling the bones of the business that is dead. Having said that, these are overpriced. They're always overpriced. That's why they're not sold. So I'm trying to help you identify what the right price is. Now, this is just your one category. I'm going to go back, and instead of looking at all of the actives, I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at the solds, because that's what they actually sell for. When I want to sell something on eBay or OfferUp, or I want to sell my car or my house, I want to know what they sell for. I just sold a monopoly board, a wood monopoly board on OfferUp. I saw all of them asking $150, $200, but I was on the market. I had a wood monopoly board. I was on the market for 6 months. Nobody was interested at those prices. I lowered the price, got a couple of phone calls, and I was able to get it sold. So what people ask for, my neighbor across the street can ask for $10 million for their house. But these houses are selling for whatever they're selling for, $500,000, just to use a number. You can ask $1 million, it's never going to sell. So that's what I'm trying to avoid you from suffering. What are you selling? You're selling this. This is the job that people want. They can't spend this because this number has fat in it. It's got expenses in it that is not spendable or enjoyable by the owner. This is the ultimate number. After all this hard work and the cost to buy the business, it's this. So is somebody really going to pay $1.5 million to make $25 an hour? Maybe make $25 an hour? Okay, yeah, maybe they'll make more, maybe they'll make less. But that's on them after the closing. That's not what they're buying, okay? So anybody wanting to make $25 an hour doesn't have $1.5 million. And even if they did, it would not be a good use of resources, even based on the competition. The competition, if they're asking 3 or 4 years earnings, they'd be better off buying one of those instead of something that, would take 20 years to pay off, at $60,000. You got to work for free for how many years just to pay off the 1.5 million. That's why the 1.5 million makes no sense, because you can't change this number. The only number you have control over is the valuation, a proper valuation. I want to show you the solds. There's 24,593 solds, all of these. For example, if you wanted to sell your tax practice or a CPA, these are all alphabetical. What are the categories? The gross sales, which you can't change, that is what it is. That's our gross sales. That's just going to be a fact. The list price and the sold price. And you can see what they ask is not generally what they sell for. But I'm going to get into our category, the list down and the sold down. So they're analyzing what people asked, what it actually sold for, what they asked for a down payment, what it actually sold for. But the two things that buyers are and sellers and agents are looking at is seller's discretionary earnings, which is this number if there are no additional add backs. If there are additional add backs, then we would enhance or decrease this based on that. But this is the column, this is the golden goose right here. And then how many dollars worth of assets. Now, I can sort this instead of doing it alphabetically. I can sort it. You can see some businesses had negative numbers, and all these guys had negatives, and then it gets to the positive numbers. Let's go to solds again. Let's go to medical. Let me show you all medical, everything, all the different kind of medicals. Let's just take a look real quick. And I'm not going to type anything else in. I'm just going to leave. Here's ALF, stay-care. Okay, there's 600. I could load all of these. Watch. Medical equipment, physician, podiatry. I go to calculate ratios. I'm going to just give you a ratio of the entire industry. As a whole, all the losers, the winners, bigger businesses, 1.92. Average days for the entire medical field is 264 days. Average down payment is 84 cents on a dollar. Average rent is 7 cents. So this is 1.92. If you wanted to be in line with the average of, now I'm not saying that these are comparable, but I'm just saying you'd be at 2 years' earnings. Well, what is your earnings? Your earnings is $62,000 a year. So that would, you multiply it by 2, you'd have a business that's worth $120,000, and you would expect 84 cents on the dollar, the contract price, as a down payment. And it would take you approximately 264 days on average. Over the last 21 years, all medical-related industries, that's what the average has been. So if a buyer is expecting to pay 2 times earnings and we are at 1.5 million to make 65, you can see how that will never work. Let's get more specific to all counties. I could do Broward, but let's see how many we're working with. As far as I know, unless you tell me different, home care, medical home care. That's what I want to focus in. If you want to also include nursing, you could let me know that. Here's home care category. There were 69 that have sold over the last 21 years. What are the categories that we care about? The gross sales, the list price, the sold price, the list down. These 4 columns are going to come up with a ratio for the bottom line, right? So when I do a ratio right now, you're going to see what did they ask, what did they receive, what was the down, how long did it take. So I'm going to sort it by our group. We fit into this category right here. Home care that we're earning higher and lower than the $62,000. So let me just show you what this group was as a whole. The group was 1.97, kind of right in the range of what medical does as an average. So this might be an average for the average. 258 days on average, 80% down payment. Some of these are cash. Some of these are 100 cents on a dollar, 100 cents on a dollar. But most of them didn't get all cash. So I recommend making it easier. Ask for a smaller down payment, a small mortgage. If tax returns don't show the profit, then you might need to offer some seller financing, which is how deals are done in order to not need SBA financing because maybe the tax returns are creative. So now what do? We're at 1.79. However, what do we know from this? We know the average sales were bigger than yours. Sold price was on average. These are the averages. The seller's discretionary earnings. Well, this is much higher than your 62. So I got to get rid of some of the big guys in order to get that to your average. So let's do that right now. Let's see which column it is. It's column number 3. I want to carve out these guys. So what am I going to do? I'm going to get rid of the losers because it's not fair to compare such a mature business like yourselves with the people who are not yet making a profit. I'm going to leave that. Let's see what happens when we just get rid of the losers. What happens? I click on solds. I click on, let's go to medical, go to home health, and we pull up, that's the only criteria. No dates, no counties, no nothing. So you can see from 69. Now, I wanted to share with you sold price. You guys were talking about $1.5 million. That's this category right over here. If somebody was going to pay you $1.5 million, they're going to expect profits. Again, these are the only categories. Nobody talks about hardships, missed days of work, the amount of work, the future, the potential, what it could be, none of that. They talk about the sold price. It sold for, call it 1.5. They're expecting 470, 472, 1.4 million, sold for 400, 1.3, 300, sells for $1 million, 300, 250. So if you're going to be $1 million or more, you're going to need to be having adjusted net, the EBITDA, the seller's discretionary earnings, 250, 300, 400, in that category. So the other way we look at it is, what are we actually selling? We're actually selling in here. So our prices are going to be over here. So this is what we're selling. We want to identify businesses most like what you have. We have the right category. Yes, I can go and look in, what county these were, and was it 20 years ago or 3 years ago, or, I can do all of that. But just for this particular application, I just want to show you something. We came up to 1.79. Now, I got to get rid of these guys because you're not profiting. Remember, this is the profit, seller's discretionary earnings. So I'm going to get rid of these guys. Boom, boom, boom. And every time I change it, it's going to change the average. So I want to zero in on the ones that are most like the one that we are trying to sell. I hope you guys understand that this took decades to put together and thousands of man hours in order to be able to figure this out. When you go to sell a house, it's the MLS. You look at the MLS, it's a 4-bedroom with a pool, same year, it was built the same year. How much is it worth, right? It's pretty easy. So under 99,000, let's just see that. Let's see, 1.97, remember that. With a house, it's very, very simple. With business, it's simple when you know how to do it. But what the value is here. It's the SDE. This is the bedrooms and the baths and intracoastal or ocean view, or this is what we're selling. It's a multiple of that number. If we look at businesses that had earnings of 99 to negative, and I'm going to get rid of the negatives in a minute, the sold price to the profit was 0.87. So that's less than 1 year's earnings. So that means the business that's making $62,000 is probably worth about $55,000. And it took 234 days. So we got to get rid of these smaller ones. Let's get rid of these negative cash flows because I don't want to compare you to them either. They're not really affecting it because see, it's NA. But here, the negative 13, this holds it down, this holds it down, this holds it down. So I just got rid of them. Let me show you when we get into positive cash flow. So I have $7,000 in profit to 99. Now that's still not accurate, but I'm going to show it to you anyhow. 2.5 years earnings. It still would never get you to $1.5 million. So now I'm going to clean it up a little bit further. I'm going to say, let's get rid of the guys that are considerably smaller. I'm going to go up to, let's say 25,000, calculate that. 2.27 times whatever your adjusted net is for the last 12 months or so. I'm going to get rid of these guys. And I'm going to go down to 62. I'm going to get rid of the 68. Before I had counted 10. These 10, let's see what the average is, 1.73. So we took 24,000 solds. We narrowed it down to 69. Then we got rid of the little ones and the big ones. That's all I did. You're seeing the average is almost a half a year on the market. And let me just address the listing period. The listing period doesn't mean that's how long it's going to be on the market. The listing period protects me because I'm going to spend $1,000 a month time and marketing and networking and calling agents and beating the bushes looking for your best buyer. That's what the listing term is. So whether it's 10-year listing or 1-year listing, if you like me and what we're doing and you believe in what I'm telling you, the listing term doesn't matter. But if we price it properly, we should expect about 6 months on the market. I have to go back in, see when these were sold, what county they were. That's going to take me some time. But you can see on average, when it's priced properly, when the ratio of seller's discretionary earning to the sold price is 1.73 on average, in that range, you could even say 2 years earnings if you wanted to go a little high. Do you understand that none of these got $1.5 million? The highest is 160, and they were making 180. They received $180,000 for profits of 56, and it took 149 days on the market. We should advertise 80% down payment or lower. You'll have more buyers that can find us quicker, make offers quicker. If you're in a rush to get out. If you're not in a rush to get out, you could ask for all cash. But you might turn a lot of people off that would have otherwise been buyers that don't want to pay all cash. They want you to hold a little seller financing and help them have some operating expenses. Small rent, this was average. Sold price, average. Discretionary was 44. You're a little higher than that. I could tweak it a little bit better and get rid of some of these. But even if I got rid of, for example, if I got rid of this one and this one because you're making more, and I got rid of that one and I got rid of that one. Okay, so now 51 profit to 62, right? Here's the top 5 that are most similar. Boom, you're at 2.2. But again, I got to see when these were actually sold and which county, whatever. If it's 20 basis points under and 20 basis points over, you're still at 2 years earnings. So I'm thinking 2 years earnings. And what's throwing this off? This one right here at 3. This was sold in 18. They had $77,000 worth of assets. And it took 196 days on average, 62% as a down payment. Only 1 or 2 of them, 2 of the 5 actually got 100 cents on a dollar as a down payment. I'll do it any way you want, guys. But when you have this amount of horsepower of the business, it doesn't command 1.5 million or $1 million or $500,000. I don't know if you still want to sell it or you want to keep it. But if you want to sell it, this is what you can expect. It's somewhere in this range. I'm going to say 2 years earnings is a safe number to get you out before 1 year marketing period, 200 days on the market. If you go higher than this, you can expect to be on the market a longer period of time. That's it. Call me, 954-562-2019. Eric Wayne, your favorite business broker. I could do it any way that you want. We co-broke, which means half the commission or minimum goes to another office. 90% of deals are done with 2 offices, which is why this is so powerful, because this is the efforts of so many different agents. We're all working together, and it's an amazing thing. We have all the forms. We have different listing agreements and contracts, and we have our members. It's an awesome tool. It's a very, very awesome tool. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.